documentary by the BBC, whose first part was released on the 17th of January this year, has been called out from London to New Delhi as a hatchet job and agenda-driven propaganda. And what's the reason, Siddharth? The documentary called India, the Modi Question claims to examine the role of the then Gujarat Chief Minister in Gujarat riots.
And the documentary, in addition to a whole lot of criticism that's actually been levelled against this particular feature that has been produced by the BBC, it also includes commentary from journalists in India as well as the United Kingdom, also claims to have accessed a secret report that had been prepared by the British Foreign Office more than 2 decades ago in 2002. Now, based on this secret government cable, the documentary says that the Foreign Office report calls the 2002 Gujarat riots as a case of ethnic cleansing and blames Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who was Chief Minister of Gujarat at the time, for it. Now, in the first government reaction that's come to this documentary that's been put together by the BBC, the Ministry of External Affairs has called it a motivated hatchet job.
We think this is a propaganda piece designed to push a particular discredited narrative. The bias, a lack of objectivity, and frankly a continuing colonial mindset is blatantly visible. If anything, this film or documentary is a reflection on the agency and individuals that are peddling this narrative again. It makes us wonder whether about the purpose of this exercise and the agenda behind it. And frankly, we do not wish to dignify such efforts.
So you heard it from the MEA. The MEA says that this film, which since has been taken off YouTube as a propaganda, comes from a discredited colonial mindset, has no objectivity and is pushing a narrative. But that's not all. From India to the United Kingdom, voices are being raised against the film. Apart from social media, remember there was an effort now to try and raise the documentary in the United Kingdom Parliament as well as an example of genocide against Muslims in India, only to be summarily shot down by the UK Prime Minister. Here's how he responded.
Mr. Speaker, last night the BBC revealed the Foreign Office knew the extent of Narendra Modi's involvement in the Gujarat massacre that paved the way for the persecution of Muslims and other minorities we see in India today, with senior diplomats reporting that the massacre could not have taken place without a climate of impunity created by Modi, and that he was, in the FCO's own words, directly responsible for this violence. Given that hundreds were brutally killed and that families across India and the world, including here in the UK, are still without justice, does the Prime Minister agree with his diplomats in the Foreign Office that Modi was directly responsible? And just what more does the Foreign Office know of his involvement in this grave act of ethnic cleansing?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the UK government's position on this has been clear and long-standing and hasn't changed. Of course, we don't tolerate persecution where it appears anywhere, but I'm not sure I agree at all with the characterisation that the honourable gentleman has put forward.
Now, there's been a lot of criticism with respect to this particular documentary, even in the United Kingdom. And like Rishi Sunak, the UK Prime Minister, said, this amounts to a mischaracterization. However, this documentary, interestingly, has quite a few takers in India. Certainly, politicians among some of the opposition ranks have commented and said that the attempt on the part of the government to label this as propaganda reeks of an attempt to silence critics of Prime Minister Modi.
We've been told, we've been seeing on social media that there is a documentary. We don't know the contents of the documentary. I'm sure Mr. Modi knows the contents. And we are told that there are lobbyists hired by this government or appointed by this government to try and stop this film.
Without supporting the BBC article in toto, intolerance has increased, the social and communal divide has increased, the BJP is trying to foster communal disharmony for their political gains. It's a thing to be taken into consideration that Indians were known to be tolerant. Their impression and reputation in international community in 2024, BJP is going to be out of power, and that will put this kind of story to rest.
Cannot put any restriction on the foreign TV media as we can put in India. It is their opinion, of the BBC's opinion, and they should justify, and they know the reason why they have shown it. what we can do here in India. Some people likes it, some people doesn't like it. So people in BJP, they trolls, and people who have seen the atrocities which is happening on the minorities, they said they are showing reality.
The documentary is still not out. Let the documentary come out first. Then we can analyze what they have to say. But there is a definite chaos in all the minorities in India. That is all we can say at the moment. There is a definite chaos. That is why our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi had to give a statement yesterday that go to churches and go to universities. So he is trying to neutralize his image somehow, because the Bharatiya Janata Party itself knows that there is a definite chaos and a fear between the minorities, all the minorities of India.
So those are some of the reactions coming in from the opposition here in India. Interesting to point out what Rishi Sunak, the UK Prime Minister, and also several Indian expats in the United Kingdom have been stating. Now, Siddharth, you interestingly spoke to BJP leader Swapan Das Gupta, the man who was interviewed by BBC for this very documentary. He says the final outcome is clearly not balanced and aims to establish a ready-made conclusion that Modi is guilty when it comes to 2002 Gujarat riots. Here's his version.